Hi guys and girls on YouTube, and welcome to my channel. In this video we're going to be looking at this vintage Sharp TV. Now I've had it in storage for a long time. It's been up in the loft and I'd actually forgotten about it, but I found it now. So I thought I'd bring it down and unwrap it and make a video of it. Now I think the person who gave me this said it was working, but I can't really remember, but it's probably after all this length of time it'll need some sort of restoration anyway. Now this is quite a fine example, I think. One, I don't think there'd be too many of these about, and two, it has got with it the original remote control, which is not replaceable by anything else. So that makes it quite a rare thing, and I'll show you why the remote's not replaceable. Now I remember the first one I ever did of these, it'll be about 1984, and it's just before I opened the shop. And the reason I remember it so well is because it was my dad's next door neighbour, and it was completely dead, and I ordered this IC for it. I think it was an STR 4090 off the top of my head, a Sanken device, and it made no difference whatsoever to the fault. And what it was, the fault, there was a dry joint on the collector of a transistor. I think it was a line output transistor, and it must have tripped it out instantly before the set had a chance to come on. But anyway, the soldering up the dry joint cured it. So let's dig out the service manual first. So I think it was an STR 4090, but just let's have a look up here what I've got in stock. STR, oh there we go, STR 4090. Let's just pull that down and have a quick look. Right, that is actually an STR 40090. So I might have got the numbers wrong, so let's pull them down and have a look. Right, actually if you look there, there's STR 40090 and STR, I don't know whether it's 41090. Anyway, let's pull both them down and get them out and have a look. Right, well the STR 40090, these are Sharp parts, but in the other drawer, the STR, perhaps it's 4109, yeah, STR 41090. That actually, you can't immediately tell, but that has been used. So it's possible I've got the numbers wrong. It's possible that was what I took out the set and it didn't cure it, and I've got it like 40 odd years later still and never used it ever again since. But let's get the service manual out first. The problem with the service manual is Sharp use funny numbers. They don't actually use the part number. So looking at the service manual, you don't really know what the part is. It'll say on the service manual that IRH IX0465, but the actual part number is under there. So let's get the service manual out first. Right, so this is my original thing from the 80s. Let's pull that out there. Yeah, that's the one, DV1600. Now when you got these from Willer Vale, they were actually a pretty poor photocopy. If you look at that, it's not particularly good. I don't know why, but when you got them from Willer Vale, they never supplied an original manual. I think they used to just buy one manual and photocopy it. Some original notes here from the 1980s. But incidentally, a lot of early Sharp stuff, when you unpacked it in the box, they used to come with a circuit diagram, and I've got an original one of these, and the circuit diagram that used to come with a set, you probably can't see too well on there, but it's a lot clearer than the photocopies you used to buy from the Willer Vale, which was the Sharp main dealer for spare parts. But everything I remember, radios, cassette players, they always came in the instruction book with a circuit diagram, which is something I've not seen for years, but that was really, really useful. So let's get the cling film off this and let's have a look inside. Right, so that's it in all its glory. Right, unfortunately the remote control, I don't know whether this is sweated in the loft, but the remote control, the paint on it is all just comes off on your fingers. So there's some sort of chemical reaction happened here, and it's kind of ruined the remote control, which is a real pity. But you'll see why this is not replaceable, because you change channel here and you push that there, and the channel change is the remote control. You can use that on its own. So that's a real shame. I'm sure it wasn't like that when I got it. You can just about see that one there's the on and off, but I think you could change channel on these somehow without the remote. I can't remember now. Let's have a look for another little flap. Yeah, I don't know. We're going to be in trouble if we need this remote control then, because I've had a look in the back. And at one time somebody's left the batteries in them, they've leaked. I mean, that might clean up alright, but what a shame about that. Anyway, back onto the telly. There's a glass panel on the front which you undo 2 screws there, and you can take that anti-glare panel off. I'll turn around, we'll have a look at the back. Right, so that's the back of the set. DV1600, 72 watts, made in Japan. Aerial socket there, and if we move up here, it's also got an AV input, and that adapter on there probably means that somebody's used this on AV input at one time. So let's get the back off and have a look at the mystery IC in the power supply. Right, so that's the inside of it. That's the tuning drawer in the top. Now it's very, very dusty inside. In fact, if you look at it, the white dust, it's not actually mould or anything, it's white dust this. That indicates that this has been used in somebody's bedroom, and obviously for considerable length of time. It doesn't look like it's had a lot done to this. Let's have a look here. Look at that, it's absolutely thick with layers and layers of dust. This has not been repaired for donkey's years. So there's another board there. That's probably something to do with the remote control. You can't really see a lot here until we clean it all up. All I can do is, for now, is just turn it round and look at the back of the board. Right, so that's the underneath. You can see where that's a chopper transformer. You can see where some areas are quite hot running, and it probably wants some dry joints doing. But my recollection of the dead set from about 1984, it was a dry joint on here. Either that or that. That's the collector of the line output transformer. Now it looks there, that's the line driver. That'd be collector feed for the line driver transformer. It looks like that's been resoldered, so it probably has had a repair at one time. But my recollection of the IC numbers might be wrong, because that there is the chopper IC that I changed, and it's definitely not that one. So I'm going to have to remove the cover to have a look what numbers on there. Right, so I just go like that and move that, and there's a screw there to remove that cover, and then we can look underneath it. You can see the chip down there, but I can't see the number from here. Alright, it is an STR4090. Right, you can see now I've got some light on there. STR 4090. So let me go and check the spares room again. Right, so that's not a mistake on the drawer because there's an STR 40090. Right, well, it turns out I haven't got one of them chips anyway, so let's hope we don't need it. But the first thing we need to do is we need to get all this cleaned up first, get the hoover out, because you cannot see anything. What number's that? Is it 2SD820 off the top of my head? No, wrong again. 2SD869. Right, let's get the hoover out then. Right, so far from perfect yet, but I've hoovered out enough dust to enable us to have a good look at the chassis now. I think that's probably the frame output. Let's have a look around here. Now I have a vague recollection that these two capacitors here and the power supply used to go faulty and cause some sort of fault. But before we do anything to this, we need to reform the reservoir capacitor, because I think I've probably had this in the loft for 5 or 6 years, and I don't know how long it was last used before I got it, but we'll take a good look at it first and then we'll think about reforming the cap. Obviously check these to make sure these rubbers haven't gone hard. Yeah, I think that's probably alright. Feels rubbery still, so I don't think we have to worry about them just yet. Let's just have a look at these handwritten notes I made in the 80s. My spelling's not very good, never has been. Yeah, right. Let's get reforming first. Right, so while the reformer's doing its magic, let's just have a look if there's any technical bulletins for this model. Any known faults or modifications that we need to be aware about before we turn it on. Right, I think we might just skip that stage actually, because with millions of technical bulletins to look through, finding anything on the DV1600, we're going to be here all day. So I think we'll just skip that stage and play it by ear, because I mean there's thousands of them here, all covering different models. Right, let's forget about looking for them then. Right, so reforming's finished. I think what we're going to do is just solder up some dry joints, check for some dry joints, and perhaps just check some of these capacitors I've listed here that were a common fault in the 80s. I mean, I can see 1 or 2 places that need attention, but generally anything that's got quite hot and it's changed colour, like the frame output IC there, even if it's not dry jointed, it's a good idea to just resolder it anyway. So the common things we're going to be looking at is the chopper transformer pins, the line transistor, the frame output, any hot running resistors, the line driver transformer. You definitely need to resolder the pins on that, and then we'll go for the switch on. Right, so I've changed all these parts as per my handwritten notes in the 80s that were common faults. Now I have, just looking at this, I've soldered up all the hot running parts as well. I have noticed and this is why the set would have been dead the first one I looked at, because the supply for the collector of the line output transistor is actually carried through the transistor itself. If you look at the collector there, and then it's carried through the transistor to that side there. So a dry joint on either of them would break the HT rail running into the flyback transformer there. Now there is one we're getting ready to switch on. I've just noticed one more little thing, not a big deal, but the degaussing thermistor there, it's actually broken now. I don't know whether I've damaged it brushing it out, more than likely, or possibility it was gone before, and that's why whoever owned the set got rid of it. And so that's the new capacitors in there. You can just see the degaussing thermistor there and the legs dropped off there. But I mean, these do run very, very hot anyway. They have a very hard life. So it's possible it was like that before. I mean, it's not a big deal. I can find something to replace it with. But just for switching on purposes, we can actually manually degauss it with a wand. But I've probably got one of them. It's just a matter of having the time to look for where it is. At the moment, we're just concerned with getting this set on. So let's pop it back in the chassis now, and we'll fire it up, see what happens. Right, so you remember I said you need the remote control to turn it on. Well, there is a little flap here with some manual override buttons in case your remote goes faulty. So let's look what we've got. We've got power, and it could be volume and channel change. Yeah, it's power, volume up, volume down, and that'll be channel up. So we can work it without the remote control. Customer controls are under that. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the camera up on a tripod, and then I can turn it on. Let's see what happens. Right, here we go then. Let's just move that up a little bit like that. I think if you press that, it comes on standby, and then we'll have to bring it out to standby with that one, I think, anyway. So let's give it a go. Here we go. Yep, got a standby light there. That's a good sign. Let's press this one here. Well, I heard a relay click, and we've got a channel light there. I'm not hearing any volume or hissing though. So presumably it's not come on. Let's turn it off. Oh, it was on. Maybe the brightness wants turning up. Nope. Oh, hang on, turn it on again. Let's try again. So it should be on now. Oh yeah, the brightness was right down. Now it seems to be, the raster suggests it's in AV mode. How do we get it out of AV? Ah, there. That's your AV switch. So it is actually on. Let's get it back to channel 1. I've got a skybox already connected. Let's tune it in. You can see it does need degaussing there. We've got a blue patch. Right, vertical hole, where have I seen that? On the back, I think. Yep. Right, what we need now is some colour, which will be that one. Oh, plenty of colour. Yeah, you can see the patch of colour there. Tell you what, let's just stop the camera while I get a degaussing stick. Right, back with this. Let's give this a go. And that's that done. Yeah, quite a good bright sharp picture that. Yeah, look at that. Everything's working on it. Colour. Grayscale's not too bad. Plenty colour. Brightness. Absolutely perfect. It's just a real shame about this. In fact, I might have a look on the internet and see if I can find a replacement remote control from somewhere. Try the volume. Yeah, that goes down. That goes up. So there we go, everybody. That is the Sharp DV1600. I'm not sure the year. It'll be very late 70s, very early 80s. But an absolutely perfect telly. It just needs a lot more cleaning up. Just try the colour bars from the skybox. Alright guys and girls, many thanks for watching my channel, and I'll catch you in the next video. Goodbye.